Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the plug. Power Living Under God. I am your host, Felicia Williams, and we welcome you. If you're new to joining us, welcome. Come on in. Those of you who are always supporting us here live at 5 on Sundays, first and third, and the fifth Sunday. First, third, and the fifth, we're live. On second and fourth, we do replays, but still supporting us. Welcome to you as well. Hello, everyone. I'm excited about today. And as you all have gathered today to join us, let's talk about it. Remember what it is that you can expect here on the plug. Here on the plug, we connect with people and ourselves, the community, connecting with our Creator, God, who has all power to encourage us, empower us to do great things. It's just ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And with that said, today I'm excited because we will have a guest. And so I just wanted to pause to let everyone know, what is the plug about? I'm the plug who's plugged into the power source, who is God, that connects all of us together. And when we get connected together, we can do extraordinary things, but it's a divine order. You got to connect with God, then connect with yourself, and then you're able to connect with others. That's what the plug is about. And we take donations. Let me tell you what those donations are used for the lifting and the building of God's people, God's program. What that simply means is this: on the plug, we have supported women and children, families with the necessities of things that they need. Today, you have an opportunity to support. You may wait a while. I get it, because people are funny with their money. I'm not mad at you, but understand, we don't do it for the money, but we do know it takes money to do a thing. But listen, when you listen to this today, and I guess and what our topic is about today, you may be moved to unction. And if you are, then do so. If you're not, we get it, because you'll be able to hear our guests and their calls. We're here to help others, to connect to others. So, in any event during this time you feel led to give your five, you got five on it. You got more than five on it, whatever God leads you to do, because you are sowing a seed into ministry, not just the plug ministry, the ministries of others, because we're here to connect. When we all get together, where there's unity, we can command a blessing. Good afternoon, Miss Katrina. Hey, Diane. Hello, Mama Florence. That's my mom. I have to say hello. Yes. Well, we're going to have heart-to-heart conversations, and we're preparing to do just that, as we are going to have our special host. And today, our title is Empowering Potential. I don't know if you know anything about energy. Potential energy is energy that's stored. It's stored energy. Like where you're sitting, or if you're driving, there's stored energy all around you. It's energy that's inside an object. It's stored. It is not yet activated. It becomes kinetic energy when an object moves up on another object, and then that object has energy. Now it's kinetic energy. It transfers. Energy is transferable. So we're talking about empowering the potential of the gifts that God has given us in children. So our guest today is coming on, and she is preparing to come on, and she's going to enlighten us on how to do that, how to empower potential, how to nurture gifts. First, you got to recognize that your children are a gift, but we got to learn how to nurture it, how to nurture a gift in a child. even when they may have some challenges. Because the truth be told, don't we all know it? We as parents all have challenges, right? Yes. Okay. So she should be coming on up. Here she comes. Welcome, welcome. Can you hear me well? Okay, I can't hear you.
Maybe if I took my mic off of mute, you would be able to.
There you go. We can hear you now. All right. Yes. So our guest is here. We're going to welcome Keri Pettis, my sister, my new sister who is with me on the journey, in the journey. We're doing this together. I've just got plugged into Keri. Here's the real story. I just got plugged into Keri a week ago, about a week ago,
Yep.
just to let you all know, the audience know, that when you connect with somebody, your spirits agree. That's the plug. It's a connection. It's a divine connection. And here we are. It's the plug, I tell you, the power of connecting. So, with no other further ado, I want Keri to introduce herself. I want her to tell you a little bit about who she is before we get and delve into the depth of what our topic is. So, Keri, I'm going to turn it over to you. You can go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you so much for having me on the plug and being, it's very flattering and also just a humble experience. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to be on a platform that you've built and you've worked really hard at putting together. And you obviously are doing some impactful and influential work. So I want to say thank you to the plug and Miss Felicia. I appreciate you guys. So my name is Keri Pettis. I am a director of compliance, but I also am a consultant, and I have my own consulting firm. And I'm just a mother, a wife, a servant, and I just look for ways to do things that are pleasing to God through the works of my own hands or through just the ministry in my family.
Right. Well, we welcome you. We welcome you. So because you mentioned your role as a wife, as a mother, how old is your son?
My son is 11 years old.
Okay. All right. Is that your only child?
That is my only biological child.
Okay.
But
So you
me
have
and
some
my
bonus
husband,
children.
yes, me and my husband have been blessed with, we took in a homeless teenager some years back. She's in college, she's doing great. And we also just love on our friends' kids, and they know that our home is an open door and it's a safe place for them. So we're kind of that home where my son's friends come around, they're like, can we go to your house and spend the night? So that's our home.
Yes, I really believe it's part of our topic anyway with empowering potential, because once you do that with your own and they have friends, or like you said, you and your husband took on a homeless uh, an adolescent, well,
Hmm.
you saw some potential,
Yes,
and
yes.
with the power that you and your husband have now, you see the fruit of your labor.
Hmm.
So let me not get beside myself, and we're gonna go on to the to the questions. I get excited
You about to
because I like
preach.
to see God in
Yes,
the land of the living. Hey, Lost in
exactly.
Translation, welcome. I like to see God in the land. So this is what it looks like. So we're gonna start with how do you even recognize?
Hmm.
Well, let me start here, Keri. So your son is 11.
Yes.
And because it's not only we're talking about empowering potential, it's nurturing the gifts and the talents of children with disabilities. So
Hmm.
now, 9 times out of 10, when people hear the word disability, we see it as a problem, difficulty, almost like impossibility.
Hmm.
Um, hey, Tasha. Um, But I like to think of it this way. There's a, you say disability, but what about dis? Like you, like somebody diss you, like disability. If you just use the
Hmm.
word, like with this ability, instead of we saying this with this ability. because
Mm-hmm.
he has an ability. So that's what we're talking about here today. So talk to us a little bit about your son, um, maybe his disability.
Yeah, yeah. So years ago, when our son was in preschool, we noticed that he just really had a hard time with focusing. He had a really hard time with kind of just following some of the simple classroom rules, and it made it very difficult for teachers to manage their classrooms because of it. We made the decision that we wanted to look further into it when we noticed that his grades started dropping once he got into elementary school. And he was having a really hard time with reading, most importantly. And what I find is kids that struggle with this diagnosis normally have issues with reading because it requires such a different level of focus. And you have to comprehend and retain what you're reading, which is really hard for kids who have this particular diagnosis. So as time went on, me and my husband decided to try different avenues. And I'll get into that later. And we tried different things to try to figure it out. And we found out that he had ADHD, but he has the impulsive disorder along with it, where he's extremely impulsive to the point that he can be a danger to himself or to others. And so that was something that was, it was going to be a new journey for us, but we were ready to take it on head on and do whatever it took to make sure that our son was successful.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm honored that you would even come on to talk about it because it too is a myth, and I am just am passionate about our children, especially our children of color, who've been diagnosed with diagnoses of different impairments, if you will. However, like the show today, and I hope that the audience will get to glean in that children with disabilities are a gift,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they have gifts and talents. So with that being said, we're going to start with um his gift. Now you
Yes.
talk about his gift. Talk about um how a parent can even identify their child's unique strengths and gifts.
Yes. Oh, that's such a good question, Felicia, because I think even as a parent without a child with disabilities, that can be hard. What I found was we too often, and since it's the plug, and so I can plug into Jesus and I can go there.
Yes, you
Too
can.
often, too often we make Jesus an adult God, an adult savior. We reference him for children only when it's relative to maybe a children's story or something more biblical, but we don't really look at sometimes, not all people. I know for me, we don't make God a child's God where
Mhm.
we acknowledge that there's giftings in children as well, and we take tests that gives us the giftings, and we find out we exhortation or we're prophets or whatever as adults, but as children I think we discount that a lot. And so I just noticed and I start listening, and it's so funny, I was watching a commercial not too long ago before I got on here, and it was about teenagers just basically saying, I just want my parents to listen to me. I wish they would just listen to me. And we're like, we are listening, but what they want is to be heard, and they want to be validated and confirmed in the things that they're sharing. And so my son would often do things that I thought was normal for all kids to do until I started seeing people's reaction. I thought, oh, you're just being nice. He's, it's nothing outside the normal. But one of the things that is he is a nurturer of people, and he loves people. He loves people hard. And I realized this when I was working in retirement services. I used to run an assisted living, and I used to have to take him to work with me sometimes for various reasons. He didn't go have school that day or whatever. And those type of facilities are 24 hours. They don't care. It could be Christmas, it could be snow outside. You still got to care for those individuals. So I would bring him to work with me. And most kids at the age of 2, 3, they see older people with teeth missing and things of that nature. They're terrified,
Uh-huh.
and that's a natural reaction because they look different, they missing things, they sound different, they moving slow. It's a little eerie. My
Yeah.
child absolutely loved being in that space. He loved on those people, and they used to call him their grandchild. They used to bring him little gifts. He used to ride on their walker, and they used to say, and he used to say, they say, "You're riding on my motorcycle," and he used to throw parties in the elevator when they go up and down to their different rooms. I mean, he was just that child, and I just watch how people drew to him and how he drew to people and how he cared so much about that. And I think for him, it's because he felt so different that he wanted to make sure that everyone felt loved. And when he expressed to me the very first time my child told me that that I knew that it was something more than what we thought it was, is when he said to me, "Mom, it's like I have a wiggle monster inside of me, and he doesn't listen to anything I have to say. And I try so hard to do what is right, and my mind is saying, let's do the right thing, but my body is saying, we don't want to do the right thing." And I
Mm.
knew at that moment that it wasn't an intentional behavior, but it was something I had to dig deeper to support him.
Oh, wow. If I had to sum up what you said, there was so much, but what I would sum up is what I heard is that, to the question, parents can identify, it's difficult to do it, but it can be done. But the way parents can identify their child's unique strength is by being observant,
Yes,
by watching them.
and sensitive to the spirit, and knowing that God can expose the gifting in your child just as early as 2, 3, 4 as he can in an adult who is now prophesying, preaching, and answering a call. And so I think that's important. And praying for God to make it evident to you, is this what you're saying is my child's strength? And how can I take this strength and show him that this is his superpower and how this makes him unique from everyone else?
Yeah, and I love, Carrie, where you talked about how we make Jesus just the Jesus of the adults.
Hmm.
That Jesus is the Jesus of the children, right?
Yes,
And then when
yes,
you just say make Jesus their superpower, because the reality is, with my 55-year-old step, I like to say, that's my superpower, right?
yes,
I
yes,
think we get too deep, and so the children can teach us something. Even with your son sharing, there's this wiggle muscle in me. It's like I
yeah.
want to do. It's what I hear. What the thing I want to do, I don't do. The
I
thing I
can't do.
come on, and the thing I don't do, that's the thing I find myself doing all the time. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's what he's saying. But I think oftentimes it goes back to listening. You say children want to be heard, but we need to listen
Yes,
so that we're
yes,
able to tap in to those strengths. That's amazing.
yes,
And so, how has tapping into this unique strength and gift, you and your husband realized it and took the measures that you need to take in order, first and foremost, to get him some help, um,
hmm,
get him in the school? So, talk to us about the steps. Okay, like after you all identified it as parents, because you're watching your child, you're
yeah,
noticing something different about your child.
yes,
And then, so what's the steps as it related to schools? And then, how has that gift made a success for him even at 11?
yes. So, especially, and I can speak as a Black woman, in our community, everyone has advice on what should be done. And everybody, I think too often, because it is a very common diagnosis for a child to have ADHD, it is sometimes looked at like it's a common thing. It doesn't require anything. Everybody has it. And there's a spectrum for it. There's different levels of it. Like I mentioned earlier, I didn't share that he had hyperattention and impulsive disorder, but there's different levels of it. If you see kids with ADHD, you have some kids that just kind of stare off in the distance and they're not busy at all. And then you have some kids that are extremely active. And so for him, we decided me and my husband locked arms, and we were like, we're not allowing anyone to tell us what to do to make sure our child is successful. And we're going to do all the research ourselves. We're going to ask the questions. We're going to have the conversations. And you have to be willing to, like me being on this platform sharing about it, you have to be willing to talk about it. If my 11-year-old was to walk in right now and hear me talking about it, he would feel empowered to share as well. And that's how we have to do it. Because if you don't, then it becomes a taboo and they become shameful of it. And it's something that you have to teach them. This is a way that you advocate for yourself. This is how you speak up for yourself. This is how you carry on for yourself. And that is important for him. That is important for him as he gets older. And so me and my husband just started having conversations with his school, with his pediatrician, with his teachers. What are some behaviors you're seeing? And then we went into looking at the resources at the school. A lot of people don't use it or know about it from what I've been told by the school, but it's a actual way that your child can go through a full assessment and they will assess from everything from dyslexia to ADHD. And it's like it takes like a month and it's like an evaluation. They talk to the teachers and they take your kid through some testing and they have some conversation with them. And again, as a Black woman, I will say this, I get it. Having a young Black boy in school potentially connected to a system, possibly being stigmatized by whatever he's, categorized as. I get it, 100%, because that's the box that I was on. I was like, wait a second, you're putting all this stuff in writing. We're having all these conversations. My little Black boy, I cannot afford for him to walk around with a stamp on his forehead and to be treated differently. And that's what really pulled me and my husband more into being involved in his lesson plans. So after all that research, we tested the alternatives of like therapy and play therapy and all of those things wasn't effective. We did essential oils, wasn't effective.
Mm-hmm.
We did vitamins,
The
wasn't
melatonin,
effective.
yeah. Uh-huh. Okay.
We did all the things, wasn't effective. And so we ultimately decided to test out medicine. But before we did a lot of research. And that research comes from what are the side effects? What are the long haul side effects? What community is normally um, prescribed this medicine. So we talked to another mother who was a Black woman who had a child with ADHD, who also did her research. She had her doctorate in education, and her son had a certain medicine. So we tried it, and that's kind of how we went. And it got to a place where our son told us when he got on the medicine, I was so scared because I didn't want him to feel like I take medicine, I'm broken. He came home and he was like, Mom, you won't believe it. I focused so good today. I did so good. And he was so proud of himself. And I'm like, okay, all right. We need to continue this conversation. So when we go to doctor's appointments, I don't answer the questions. I let him answer the questions. The doctor comes in, how's the medicine doing? How have you been feeling? What are some things you see that's different? If he answers all those questions because it's important for him to know.
Oh, wow. That is amazing because the steps in the process that you just talked about, I still heard the unity between you and your husband. And even
Oh
for a
yeah.
single mother, like you talk about, with me being in education, you and I talked before. Yeah, you keep saying, I get it, I get it. And I'm just under the impression too, we got to get to a place, even though we know all of this, I get it, we got to get to,
Mm-hmm.
let's push past, I get it, and do something
Mm-hmm.
differently. That's what I hear that you and your husband did. It could be a single mother. She could connect with somebody, whether it's her mother, if it's a grandmother, whether it's her sister girl, but connect with somebody where there's unity. That's what we're talking about, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
that word research. Because
Yes.
all of the things that you all did, he's just 11. He's just 11.
It's just
And,
11.
for me, you think about the word research, it's like, oh, God, you got to research for 11 years. And then the child will be 22, 11 more years to do. But no, what I'm hearing you say, no, I believe because, plugging into the power of God, connecting with your spouse, family member, somebody in the community, and working together on the behalf of the child will, be beneficial for him. And it
Yes.
helps to empower him. Like you just say, he's
Yes.
advocating now for himself. And then you find somebody else, possibly that looks like you, but possibly not if they don't. Because here's the deal. What you want is help.
Mm.
And so what I do know is you all as a family have a wealth of knowledge in that area along with your son. It's not just you and your husband, but your
Mm-hmm.
son
Mm-hmm.
knows his own impairment, his disability, but he also knows his superpower.
Oh yeah. Oh yes, he
So
does.
that's the foundation of it. I'm just excited. I'm a pause. There's some comments. Here's one comment from Lost in Translation says, sometimes parents struggle with giving their children medication.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Talk about it.
It is. It's and it understandably so. If we go back in history, we can understand where that challenge comes from, just from our lineage. But I think that just like anything else, it's used as management. It's not used as a solution. So what I do, as well as him being on medicine, I think people are worried about medicine because they're thinking, oh, my child's gonna always be on it and it's gonna be for the rest of their life. You have to teach them the skills and um, the tools, give them tools in their toolbox to be able to handle their ADHD, their diagnosis, or whatever, and be functional so they don't have to depend on medicine forever. But also, what you're telling them is if you need that additional support, it's okay to ask for it. And I think too often when we say, don't take medicine, we don't want anything to do with medicine. From here on out, that's what they hear. That's a part of a conversation that goes even deeper. And I know Felicia can speak to this about mental health. And some people need medicine just to help them get over a hump. But because we're deciding in the beginning to give them this idea that medicine is all bad and is horrible, then when it comes time for them to seek additional help as they get older in other areas, they already have that idea that, oh no, I can't get put on medicine. Oh no. And
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Medicine management. I like it. Management. Because we do. That's also another myth you would have to cut down or to destroy when you are on the path to support a child who um have gone through the proper assessments, the evaluations. Like you were talking about earlier, it's the it's called the FIE. It's a full evaluation, and yet
Yeah.
that's a battery of all the things that so they can rule out these things, because a lot of times the diagnosis is some of them, they they look like different, they look like the same thing. So
Hmm.
so they want to rule out. You talked about it earlier. All
Yes,
ADHD don't look the same.
it
There's
does
just
not.
all codes. All of us go. All of the audience goes to the doctor. If all of us get diagnosed with the flu, let's say the flu, then all of our medications will not be prescribed the same. We all won't have the same dosage. We all
Yep.
won't even have to take it the same amount of time. We all won't have to even take it the same frequency.
Hmm.
It will be based up on our history, our body composition. Same thing if you look at it from that perspective. So I love
Yes.
what you educated us on as far as a management of medicine. Yep, and
Yes.
a lot. I get it. Like I'm saying, I get it. No, I'm not gonna say that. We realize that there is a concern and a fear. That's really what it is.
Yes.
Fear. But we have to overcome fear. We can't just be, even in the church, that's talking about you're going to overcome fear. You can wear the shirt that say faith over fear. But to really, you have to actually do something different if we're going to help our children. And you and your
Yes.
husband did that. And here's the live testament of it. And I want to make a comment that there's a gentleman on in the comment, the cover, that's his, I guess his name for the cover for YouTube. But he is my a former student. And he doesn't
Mm.
mind me sharing his story. He had put on, he was related to challenges as a kid. I was his third grade teacher. He's well over in his 30s. He's in 31. Well, he was the second child that I referred to special education.
Mm.
Going back to the point that you made about it's not forever.
It's not.
I remember the conversation with his mom, and we were in an area like, we in the hood. Let's just keep it that way.
Yeah.
Okay. And so how we help one another, I was letting her know he doesn't have to be on this forever.
Hmm.
Be weaned off of the medicine. He don't have to be in sped forever. And that's another thing that we don't realize.
Yes.
That's the research. That's the education. We don't talk about it. It's not forever. Just like if you go to the doctor and you have the flu today, you don't have the flu for 50 years. You don't have
Yes.
the flu for 5 months.
Yes.
If you take the instructions that's been prescribed to you, whatever that is.
Yes. That's
So
so
I think
true.
that's so important because he's doing well now. He got out of SPED, right? He exited out of SPED, went to college, all the things. And he was,
That's awesome.
I had him come to speak to one of my classes because he was a product of being in SPED. Because when kids hear SPED, they like, oh, like something is wrong, they
Hmm.
crazy. But it's we have to educate ourselves and we have to
Yes.
educate our children so they don't look at each other, their peers, as something is wrong. Now, with that being said, talk to us about how as parents, you all um help the or allow the educators to help you with your son. How did you
Yeah.
collaborate? How did you create an environment where you all collaborated? When I say you all, I'm talking about the parents, I'm talking about the school, you know. How did that look?
So, this type of conversation is unique because it really inquires another level of intentionality. Like you can't let the system raise your child. Like if you're worried about your child being on special education or any type of program for a long time, it's because you haven't taken the time to be intentional with their success in education. That's just the bottom line. And so the system is just carrying them. But what me and my husband do every year before the end of the year, we go to the school and we ask, who are the next grade teachers? So they tell us who all those teachers are. And then we ask them, tell us a little bit about each teacher. Because by this time, my child's probably been in school a couple of years. He's in fifth grade now. And so we've been doing this the whole time he's been in school since we realized no, actually before his diagnosis, because we realized that he requires a little bit more attention. And so we ask questions. Who is the teacher? How long has she been teaching? Sometimes, this is just a nugget that I've learned. Sometimes teachers that have been teaching a very long time have the least amount of patience with
So I,
kids with certain
I'm
diagnoses.
stop you. I don't mean to interrupt, but I do mean to interrupt. I want you to say it slow for the people in the
Okay.
front. Come on, say that one more time.
Some,
I think that's and if you haven't shared, I think you need to share this a video because I know so many people want to know what to do with their children with ADHD.
yeah,
Don't know what ADHD is. Just look at it this way: the child that, like she explained earlier, that's moving around. Because I know my baby, my grandson has ADHD. You, the child that's moving around, or it could be the child that's not.
yeah.
But share this with somebody that you know can use this information. This is good information. But I want Keri to slow down and say what she said for the educators, for all the principals, all the
Yeah.
counselors, the assistant principals, the superintendents, all the people need to hear this because this is real.
Hmm.
Okay, Keri.
So, so after that amazing PSA, uh, what we've learned is that the teachers who have been teachers the longest have the least amount of patience with children with these type of diagnoses. And that is because they have created a rhythm, they have created a classroom structure that becomes very traditional and it's what they're accustomed to. But children, such as like my son, need something that's less traditional, a lot more flexible, and they're willing to pivot. That can be really hard, especially when you have teachers who's used to a certain teaching structure in the past, and now they're held to having uphold a different standard. They're, expected to meet certain marks. And when you have a teacher that comes in that's not been in the education system as long, they have a lot more space to be innovative and creative. One of my son's best teachers was a teacher that taught for maybe 5 years, and he had a teacher that taught 20 something years. And we had the most challenges in that class. And he's had, and it's been that way going forward. And so, and they're more willing to have conversation and communicate. They're used to parents wanting to communicate. Now, I'm not saying every teacher that's like that is the case, but from our experience, that has been the case. And so every year, at the end of the year, we'll have a conversation with the principal because they know my child by this point and they know his type of behavior, his challenges. And I ask what teachers are teaching the next year. I ask for an overview of those teachers. You know, what are some of their strengths? What are some things that you've had conversations with them about? What is some of the things? Because these are things you're privy to. It's not a secret. These are things you can know. And then I request my child to be placed in the class that I feel that is best for him. Now, sometimes what has happened, as you heard me talk about teachers that weren't the best option, what has happened is we have trusted the school to make a decision because they know our son very well as well. Now, it wasn't against our own judgment. It was just like, hey, I recommended this teacher because my child has ADHD, or we had a child that had ADHD or a certain diagnosis, and they did well in this classroom. Well, like I mentioned earlier, all these diagnoses, the kids act different. So that may be very true. And I know someone who has a child who has ADHD, and they just literally zone out, so that child's not having any behavioral problems. Their grades are probably low. They're probably not as engaged and participate as much, but it's different. And so I've learned to have to know what exactly to ask for. And that has really changed everything. When we go into our 504 planning meetings, it is not taboo to my son. It is not foreign to him. He is not unaware. He's not in the meetings, but he knows we're going to have the meeting. And I ask him, what are some things that you're needing in the classroom that the teacher can provide to help you be successful? What are some things that you feel like you need? What are some things you don't feel like you need anymore? And we have a conversation about that. And I go into that space and I advocate for him on behalf of what he's told me. So here recently, one of the things he told me last semester, he said he didn't need breaks anymore because he used to get breaks to get to step
Mhm.
away because he gets real antsy. And so I think they were keeping them busy enough where he didn't need breaks. This semester, he's like, Mom, I need breaks. I need to get up and I need to walk around, and I get really mad sometimes and I want to react right away and I need some time. And I said, okay, when we go into your 504 meeting, that's what we're going to talk about is breaks. Within that, I know my child. Okay, so you're giving him a break to go walk down the hallway.
Yeah.
I know my child. So guess what I said? We're gonna give him this, but within guidelines. He's gonna take a folder down to the principal's office. Him and the principal are really close for multiple reasons, good and bad, but
Right.
they're really close. And I say she's gonna sign that folder with a timestamp when you get there. And then when you leave, she's going to sign it again saying you left and you're going to bring it to the classroom because it should not take you 15 minutes to go from the front office to your class because that means you're lollygagging, you're getting distracted somewhere and you'll lose this privilege. And so you need to use it for what it's for. And so we'll have that conversation. And that's how we've learned as going into the school year what needs to happen. We're engaged. We go to the teachers and we say, look, we're not teachers. We can't tell you how to do your job. We can't tell you how to manage your classroom, but what we can do is we can be a support to you and however our child can be successful in your class. And we want to ensure that our child isn't interrupting anyone else's success in your class. That's what we're here for. So don't be afraid to call us. Don't be afraid to text us. Don't be afraid to tell us the same thing over and over that he's doing because we want to reinforce what's happening in the classroom at home. And that's literally what we do so that when he goes to the class, it's not foreign to him.
Right.
The behaviors, the language, the consequences are not foreign to him because it's like, I get this at home.
That
This
is
is
so.
the same thing I have at home.
Mhm. That is so good. That is, I know this information is so rich, but because I've been in education and been on all of those different sides, what you're saying is so true. Um, and what I hear is that you are a partnership with the school. It's a partnership
Mhm.
for
Yes,
the success of your child. And yes, you have to pick, you get to choose your child's teacher in the sense of just getting to know them to see what their strengths are or what their weaknesses are, because the reality is all educators have them strengths and weaknesses. And let me just
yes.
speak to the part that you said about older uh, educators who've been in it longer, because what happened, and that's when I knew it was time for me to exit. I love
Mm.
advocate for children, but there's a different avenue that I advocate, you see, because my tolerance level got real low. My 7-year-old grandson who has ADHD, before he comes to me, I have to do all the things you just described. I
Yeah.
have to pay attention to what we're going to do because routine, I'm routine. I'm
Hmm.
not. He can pivot and he's going to be over here going to do, but it's
Yeah.
being knowledgeable of all of those things. And
Yes.
we have to keep an open mind to do that, to be knowledgeable and to partner with the schools.
Yes.
Great
Yes.
information. And so, listen, oh, Lord, look at the time. This is so good. Okay, listen, what words of encouragement would you offer to parents who are unsure about their child's potential?
Yeah. So, with all the things that I've shared, my son now has a homeless ministry. He's had it for a little over a year, and he does extremely well. He serves at least over 100 people almost every time we go out. And it's him. He puts everything together. He gets up and talks to people. He gets out there and gives the items out. Those people out there know who he is, and he's the one that's smiling. He dresses up when he goes out there because he wants to give his best. That is just who he is. My suggestion to you, what I've learned, is that the world isn't going to be patient and give your child grace. So you have to. You have to be intentional with finding out what it is they need to be successful. And it changes. One of the things that with my son's diagnosis, we don't give him his medicine on weekends and we don't give him his medicine in the summer. And the reason we do that is because in the beginning, the communication was he thought it was to make him behave and be better, and behave better, be a good kid, and that without it, he was a bad kid. And that's why he has to get it every day, even when he's not at school. That was the furthest from the truth. And as a mother and a father to a child with this diagnosis, we decided we're not giving him any medicine on the weekends or during the summer. Now, is he bouncing off our walls and climbing up them and swinging on ceiling fan? Yes. But at the end of the day, you have to create a place where your child can be themselves. We just bought our coffee table for the first time, Felicia, when we bought our house a little over a year ago. It was the very first coffee table we ever bought. We never owned a coffee table
Uh,
because he's so impulsive. He'll just take off running through the house and do a flip or do something. And we just didn't want him to harm himself. And we wanted our home to be his safe place. So, what I suggest, make your home the safe place for your child. They're getting criticized, they're getting misunderstood, and all those things outside of the house already. It is so important that your child can come home and be themselves. And also, if you are into counseling, Miss Felicia's on here. This is something I also suggest. Our son to this day is still in counseling, not for ADHD per se, but because he has that diagnosis, his experience in the world is a little bit different, and with him being a black boy with that diagnosis, it's even more different. So we wanted to make sure he has a place where he knows to talk about those things of how he's different, how his life is different, how he feels about certain things, and have it in a healthy space. So as he gets older, again, like medicine, therapy is not taboo. He's
right.
been in it. And he asked for to get back in it this go round. Mom told me and his dad, I would like to get back in counseling. I'm finding myself when I can't react to being impulsive, I get angry. And when I get angry, people treat me different. Well,
Mm,
baby, you're a little black boy and you're getting angry. There's so many layers to that. So
yeah.
he's in counseling right now. And that's something I also advocate for. Counseling is not a reaction, it needs to be proactive. That's what it needs to be.
Yes. Oh my goodness. All the things. That's a home that has taken the holistic approach
Yes,
to empowering the potential by nurturing the gift of your own child who has
yes,
a disability. To God be
yes.
the glory. Listen, this has been so rich. I can see how many different places this can go, and I'm trying to maintain. Um, is there one key, if there's one key takeaway that you would want the listeners to remember, what would it be?
Mm. Don't let anybody tell you how to raise your child.
I love it. I
Don't
love it.
do not take the time to understand your child. Take the time to learn them. They are unique and they're their own individual. Don't compare. Even though you're even hearing my story right now, don't compare your child and don't try to use the same tactics unless it's the advice of get to know your child. Get to
Yeah.
know them and find out and listen to them, and they'll tell you. Because I realized that my son stayed in trouble. He stayed getting suspended and lunch detention and fights. And I'm like, what is going on? Cursing. And I'm like, this was years and years ago, but I'm like, what is, whoa, we don't even do this at our house.
Yeah.
And come to find out, it was a reaction to his environment because he felt misunderstood. And so, as a mother, of course, you get suspended. And his daddy, we're like, oh, you're grounded. But when we start seeing a pattern, we're like, wait a minute, let's pull back. The school wants us to react this way. They want us to give you a consequence like this, but there's a pattern here. What are you trying to say? What is your outcry? What's the problem?
Mm-hmm.
And so I suggest to you, listen to your kids. And I don't care if somebody raised 50 kids. That don't mean they know how to raise yours. I'm just saying.
That,
That's
okay.
all I got. That's
That's how
it.
you, that's enough. That's good. That's good. That's good. Listen, you heard it from her mouth. You heard her say, don't let anybody else tell you what you need to do for your child. But that comes with you got to know your own child. Oftentimes, I
Mhm.
think that's what's happening. We let other people tell us and give us advice because we haven't taken the time to study, to listen, to pay close attention, to take note of, and then to research to find out how I can get the assistance that I need for my child. And by all means, talk about it. Don't be
Yes.
ashamed so that you can get the help. A closed mouth don't get fed. Um, we about 5 minutes out, and that's like, ugh, yeah,
Wait, Felicia. Another thing is
what
find those resources.
what
Access is everything. Find them.
resources? Find the resources.
Find them. They're out
So,
there.
is there a particular somewhere that they could go to get resources? Well, this is what I say. Now we got um AI, Gemini, all the eyes. You know what I
Um,
say? Google, whatever. We quick to ask them stuff. Ask them
yeah,
resources for ADHD.
yeah,
Parent support groups for ADHD.
yeah. Just ask questions. Just keep asking questions. If people say your child's doing A, B, and C, okay, how can you help me with that? What resources do y'all have? What's available?
Yes.
Use that because my child even was in social skills. They were in that, but you have, like, you're right, Diane, you have to do the research and you have to be willing to do whatever it says. The resource, whatever that resource says you need to do in order to make sure that this thing happens, you have to do it. And my mom used to tell me the two best investments you can make is in your children and in yourself. So, hey, if you got to
Yes.
invest your time and your money into your child for now for 18 years because they're younger, shorter than they're older. They only
Mhm.
considered children for 18 years, even though we all know, they
Yeah.
still a little, we always a little in our early 20s.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yes.
yeah.
And
Hmm.
yes, and to Black Man Unfiltered said, everybody needs to know about this information. So if you haven't
Yes.
done this already, hit the like button, hit the like button, hit the like button, because that'll help the algorithms to get this out to everybody what they need to know. This is important information for our community. I kid you not. It is not a money maker in that sense. We're telling you what you need to know. This is how we giving back and educating our community for our Black boys. And like our Lawson
Oh, yes.
translation says, yes, Black boy joy is just as important as Black
Yes.
girl magic. You better
Yes,
say
it
it again.
is. It's very important. Actually, the two correlate, but we'll talk about that later, loss in translation. The
Yes,
two
they
go
do.
together.
We
Yes,
gotta
they
come back.
do.
Yeah, that black boy joy and that they go together. Cause listen to me. If you get a black boy joy and a black girl magic, you got you something. That's the plug. You hear me?
Yeah, that's
That's
the
the
plug.
connection. You hear me? Now that's what
Yes.
you want. If you're single and you've got black magic, you better get you a black boy joy. They is a man now, but he used to be a boy. You
Hello.
understand? I'm trying to
Yeah.
help somebody. I'm trying to help
Yes.
somebody. Listen, we are going to be together with one of our other amazing sisters on April 27th. We want you all to come and join us. We're talking about why not her. Listen, there's so much that God has for us to do. I was trying
Yes.
to pull it up, lost in translation, black man, unfiltered, but I can't put. Oh, okay, that's the okay. Let me. Okay, that's it right there. Thank you. Okay, this one. If you got your phone, your QR code, go ahead and hit that because we're going to be doing a conference on and to empower, inspire, and transform is why not her. Our dear sister Tasha Wilson is the host, and she is doing great things in the community. Listen, the plug is about connection. You know why? Because God connected me to Himself and said, if you do
Amen.
this, then I will bless you bountifully. And He is not short of His promises. With that being said, thank you for all of your donations. Listen, this is what the plug is doing today. We're going to donate everything that was given today to the young man who's doing great things to Keri's son. We're going to
Oh
pour into his ministry, the homeless
wow.
ministry. Yes, we are. We're
Thank
doing that. We're
you.
giving back. We're not just saying it. We put in our words.
Oh,
our
that's
walk and our
awesome.
talk match up. Like one
Awesome.
I know a black boy Joy, and he says your audio got to match your video. So that's what we're doing. You see? So
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna take those donations and we're going to sow into what's his name, Keri?
His name is Esrael with the E, so Esrael. He goes by RJ. RJ
Okay,
is his name.
we're gonna bless RJ, and we're
Uh-huh.
gonna thank Keri. Thank you for joining us here on the plug.
Yes.
Thank Black Man Unfiltered and the team. We are grateful that you joined us, and we look forward to many more opportunities to. I'm just so excited. So many more opportunities to educate our people. So we are going to end now. I'm slowing down because I got to slow myself down. I'm so excited and overjoyed to have you, sis. I love what you and your husband
Thank
have
you.
poured into your son and what you're doing. We expect to see you in the kingdom, in the marketplace. We
Oh,
know you're
yes.
doing great things, and so this is it. We thank you. Until we meet again, thank you, Black Man Unfiltered, and all of the audience who joined. We appreciate each and every one of you. Remember, if you have not shared, hit the like button. See us again. We'll be back here on the fifth Sunday. We'll be here next Sunday with a replay. We're going to replay this because we need to let somebody know. So everybody that didn't get it, give it to them. But hit the like button. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Until next time, stay plugged into the power. I'm your host, Felicia Williams. Power living under God. See you now. Bye. Hi, Keri. Love you.